All right, you guys, happy Thursday, end of our week at least. And as promised today, we received information regarding who Ben Shapiro was with when Charlie Kirk was hit. Ben claims he was at a breakfast or a lunch. Now, we were unable to confirm that little bit, but we were able to get solid information on who is telling people that he was with Ben Shapiro. So we are going to discuss that. Also, we got an absolutely wild comment yesterday from one of you at home, and I have to share it. I will preface this by saying that I'm not going down the rabbit hole totally, but somebody else might be. I'm just going to sort of stir the pot on this one because my jaw was on the floor reading this comment and doing a little bit of research and realizing it was accurate. And it is regarding another mysterious and untimely death in Hollywood. So welcome back to Candace. All right, you guys, I want to talk about parasites because they are fascinating little organisms. They're creepy, but they are fascinating in part because their survival depends on feeding off of a host and causing it harm. I mean, really think about that existence, not being able to live unless you are causing destruction. I'm one of those people that really loved watching Animal Planet and Discovery growing up, and I still do, by the way. And what's especially interesting about parasites is the manner in which they infect their host. As you probably know, there are many different kinds of mind-controlling parasites. Literally, they infect the mind of healthy organisms, and they pervert their worldview, causing the host to do things that are ultimately harmful to and sometimes plainly suicidal to themselves. Ants, as just one example, can have their minds invaded by parasites that convince the ants to climb up onto grass blades and to position themselves to be eaten by predators. Think about that. They become actual zombie ants. And you've also maybe heard the same thing regarding the parasite that house cats carry. I'm sure you've heard a lot about it. If you're a woman and you're pregnant, they always warn you about Toxoplasmosis gondii, or T. gondii for short, because if humans are overexposed to it, they can become convinced, I'm not kidding, that they are in love with their cats. There have been cases where people have wanted to quit their jobs and stay home with their cats, and the doctor has to let them know you're actually carrying a parasite. That's actually one of the components of how cats are able to catch mice. They're able to convince the mice that they're safe, that they're in love with them. It's totally bizarre and wacky. You should read up on it. If you're like me, you'll be very interested. Then there are the type of parasites that rather than taking over the mind of the host, they can take over the tongue. I'm not kidding. They are called tongue-snatching isopods, and they can invade a fish through its gills and attach to the base of its tongue until it causes the tongue. They can just take it over completely, replace the tongue of its host, and control the organ entirely, which is crazy to think about, a parasite just controlling your tongue. And it's astonishing to me that there are entire groups of people, human beings, who emulate this exact behavior. I always say that. I look at people and I'm like, what animal in the kingdom are you? And sometimes you come across an insect, and there are these people who seek to control and dominate what other people think, just like a parasite. What other people say, just like a parasite, who invade very much like parasites in this sort of effort to drive people crazy. They behave as though they're going to die unless they can take and infect others. I've come across these people, of course, a lot in the last 3 years. And sometimes I'm like, hey, could you just move on? Is it cool if I just disagree with you on that topic? Can I think my own thoughts? And I feel like their response is, no, I will die if you do that. I have to keep focusing on this and trying to weigh you down. That obviously has been my experience in recent years with zionists. Like, they just cannot let it go. But there's also a spiritual component to it as well. We showed you yesterday Canaanites, literal Baal worshipers, modeling themselves after Nimrod, meaning that they are permanently at war with the Creator. There is a damnation to being at war with the Creator. It means that you can't create. If you give yourself over to these sorts of demons, you can no longer create. You don't have a way back to the source. So you have to model yourself after a parasite. You have to steal. You have to deceive. You have to manipulate. You have to entrap people via contracts. Entrap people who do have the creative force, because you can't produce that within yourself. Charlie Kirk had the creative force within him. You could see that, the lightness in his eyes, the joy. He's a happy warrior. He wanted to build, not destroy. Michael Jackson had that creative spark. And then people surrounded him. Justin Bieber, I will say, finally looks like he has his creative spark back. He's simplified things after breaking free from contracts that were costing him his soul. That's the moment that we're in right now in society. I really believe that. On a personal level, I've told you guys over and over again, and I will stand by this fact, that Ben Shapiro behaves like a parasite. It's just a fact. If you just look at his history, it has been my experience with him, and I am not the only one. Steve Bannon, the once executive chairman to Breitbart News, Ben's former employer, explained this, how after Andrew Breitbart died, I should mention young and under very suspicious circumstances, Ben attempted to take over Andrew's company. And when that failed, he plotted to take down the company because why can't he have it? Doesn't matter if he built it, it should be his. So take a listen to what Steve Bannon said at AmFest last December about Ben.
Ben Shapiro is like a cancer, and that cancer spreads. It's a cancer, and it metastasizes. He tried to take over Breitbart, and I ran him out of there. He tried to take over David Horowitz's, who was his mentor. Don't ask me. Ask the guys associated with David Horowitz what he did there. He tried to take that over. And mark my word, he will make a move on Turning Point because he's always been envious of Charlie Kirk.
I've marked those words. And what has become alarming is that Ben fixates. He does. He fixates. He cannot move on. He was fixated on Charlie Kirk all throughout his career. He is similarly fixated on Tucker Carlson. I mean, I worked at the Daily Wire, and it was totally bizarre to me how focused the executives were on Tucker, like they were in some competition. Tucker never spoke about Ben, and yet it was constantly this topic. Ben tried to stop Charlie's rise. I have said that repeatedly, and he gave him trouble all throughout his career. That is a fact. Charlie first thought he looked up to Ben, and then in 2018, as soon as Ben got envious, exactly what Bannon is referring to, it switched, and he began doing the stuff that he does behind the scenes because, well, he just thinks it's supposed to be his, and he's looking for a host. Now, I have tried to execute, believe it or not, a lot of restraint in sharing things that I know, and it has been very difficult for me to straddle knowing the things that I know about Charlie and his shifting opinions and what began the shift in those opinions, and then having to watch at the same time the very people that he was fighting toward the end of his life just lie without any recourse, like they don't have souls. And the most shocking has been Andrew Colvett, his attempt to pretend that Charlie and me were never friends, that Charlie and me had some imaginary falling out and we just did not have each other's back since 2019. Worst of all, I think, is then him just inverting reality and claiming that Charlie and Ben were friends. I want to be very clear. That is diabolical. That is diabolical. I actually was sitting in Spain next to Carrie Prijad-Baller, and I was just showing her all of these messages, and her jaw was on the floor. She was like, I can't even believe this, because we were watching Andrew tweet this narrative that Candace wasn't friends with Charlie and Ben was. Charlie was the single person, just so you guys know, who provided me with the most emotional support when the Zionist thugs came for me. Like, that began, as you guys know, in earnest at the end of 2023 with the Christ is King scandal, then me getting fired, and Charlie talked me through all of that. He kept me clear-minded, focused, told me how I should react, and I believe that the treatment of me, which he predicted and told me what was going to happen next, served as a major point of him recognizing what he and I had arrived in suddenly, where people were trying to control us. And at the same time, because this was post-October 7th, of course, where the thugs just started thugging a bit harder and demanding that people, say what they were supposed to say, or else they also attacked Charlie and they called him anti-Semitic. So I'm going to show you this text message thread. Now that Andrew Colvett is out the gate saying Charlie was terrified of me and we weren't friends since 2019, and he was just managing me in our relationship, I'm going to show you a snippet of our thread. This one dated November 15th, 2023, when Ben Shapiro began his attacks against me. And you are going to be able to judge for yourself what kind of relationship we had. Shockingly, just to be clear, I was working for Ben Shapiro, who's a part owner of Daily Wire, for that company when this was going down. And it was obvious that there was a coordinated effort from the inside post-October 7th to begin privately pressuring and smearing anybody who wasn't repeating the narrative that Israel were the only victims, that everything began on October 7th, and they had a right to do whatever they wanted. The beginning of the infamous Christ is King and genocide is always wrong scandal when they started swarming. That's the only way I can describe it. It's a swarm, an infestation. So here are the messages. Charlie sent me his tweet defending me. I am genuinely confused why asking questions and quoting Bible verses about peace warrants a call to resign from the Daily Wire. There should be more room in the conservative movement for disagreement. We can do better than this. Charlie then wrote to me, don't resign because it's what they want. I said, I won't. I know. Charlie wrote, Jeremy, boring. He knew exactly what Jeremy was. 100% workshopped this. This is not Ben acting alone. This is a hit. I said, I believe it. I believe that 100%. Also, they are idiots. Charlie then came back and said, this is a C-level hit against you because they think they can provoke you, which was what was happening. They were trying to provoke me to quit. I wrote back, yes. And he said, that's why this is all coordinated. I came back and I said, also Marissa, and I was referring to Marissa Straight of Prager University, is involved. I suspect they always send her out last to talk sense to me. He said, they want you to do a video. Oh my God, I'm out. I'm not going to work for him. I said, I believe it. He said, Marissa Straight, she's part of the tribe. Do not listen to her. I said, I know she is. I always know when they roll her out, it's like programming. And this time I stood up to her because I did that time. I did not apologize for saying genocide is always wrong. Charlie said, good. He continues. I've told all the Jews recently to go to hell who try and tell me to stop. I said, it's unreal. It's an implicit threat. He said, BTW did the flight workout, okay? I was 40 weeks pregnant and he was helping me to find a plane last second. And I said, by the way, you are featured in my Tucker interview that just dropped. I defended you hardcore. I forgot to mention that he just dropped it. And he said, thank you. We are on the same team. Screw these people. And I said around the 20-minute mark. And he said, thank you for doing that. I really appreciate it. Very few of us are willing to stand up to the cabal right now. I said, thank you so much for having my back. You know, I have yours. I'm really so disgusted by what they did to you. Years of service to the pro-Israel cause and no one cares, treating you like you are only as good as what you can do to them. The plane worked out great today. Thank you so much. It made all the difference. This pregnant, LOL, I'm literally 40 weeks. And he wrote, absolutely, we are on the same team. People are waking up and it is finally happening. He continued, it is so transactional. I am repulsed by it. For years, I was called a Jewish shill. And now they say, I am a Hamas agent. Screw them. The game has changed. So that's a snippet into what began conversations between me and Charlie over the course of, I guess only a year and a half later, he would be dead. Just over a year and a half later, he would be murdered, about Zionism and how they were moving in on speech, how they were bullying us. We have conversations about Seth Dillon, all the players who we were involved and trying to gaslight us by name calling us, and very clearly we're coordinating with one another. And I've always told you guys the truth from the beginning that after that, when I got fired, you can go watch the clips of Charlie saying, we have her back, we're on her side. And those conversations were happening. Again, he was telling me what the best moves were to make, providing the advice and guidance as he always did. When I went and spoke at YWLS, he and I sat in a room and chatted about what was happening behind the scenes of Daily Wire, what they were doing, legally speaking, opened up to him about that. I believe Andrew Colvett was actually present for that discussion, if I recall, before I went on stage. And so then I was told through messages, actually text messages that I have with Andrew, that Ben Shapiro was squeezing their donors and trying to get them to say that I couldn't speak at AmFest at the end of 2024. And I said, Charlie, I don't even care about that. Like, don't let them now. I know you're under attack. I don't care about any of that. Literally, I'm under so much pressure right now. I have to now rebuild my podcast. Like, who cares? Like, let's take a beat. I'm sharing this with you because I want you to really imagine not just my shock, but also my internal and what will now be my eternal disgust. Experiencing his quote unquote friends completely lie about this. Okay. This is, by the way, not new. Everyone who knew Charlie, as I've told you many times, they knew that not only that Charlie and I were close, of course, if the President of the United States comes to you and asks you to call Candace about Brigitte Macron, it's because everyone knows that you and Candace are close. But everyone also knew that he was under pressure from pro-Israel donors since October 7th, 2023. Everyone also knew that he has never liked and was always disgusted by the way Ben behaved, by the way Ben treats his friends and his enemies. He doesn't care if you're a friend, as you saw with Megyn Kelly. He will throw you under the bus in 4 seconds if it's about Israel. And in the end, less than 24 hours before he died, Charlie snapped. He did abandon the pro-Israel cause. He was not joking in those messages, as some people have tried to say. He put his foot down and he texted multiple people that he was done and that he wanted to bring me back. That was the sign of how they were squeezing him the year before. Yet immediately after his death, the person who I could show you text messages over the course of every single year up until he died, the one person that Charlie made it perfectly clear from our early days that he was at war with. Okay, here's another throwback, this one older, of Charlie saying just that he was at war. She's close with Ben. Yup, the war is on. Snakes in the garden, they are not our friends. Time to fight. Back when he was just trying to stop Charlie from rising because he is naturally envious. He doesn't want anyone to be bigger than him. And sees it as his right to sue, steal, take. I don't know. It truly is the non-spirit of a parasite. We have to imagine how I felt. Suddenly and almost immediately following this, Charlie's assassination, that Ben, of all people, is sitting in his studio, in Charlie's studio, with $1 million in hand, attempting to buy his legacy. And I shouldn't say attempt, right? Because they allowed it. Andrew then lied. He lied, didn't feel anything when he did it. He said Ben and Charlie were friends. Allowed him to open at his event. His wife as well allowed that, right? She came out first and then Ben came out. And not only that, he had to have pre-submitted his speech. That's usually how it goes. They knew he was going to go on the attack against Charlie's actual friends. Me, Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly. And now we fast forward and we learn that Ben claims that his security, who consists of former Israeli IDF members, were on the phone with Charlie's security during the critical 7 minutes that Charlie was fighting for his life, while Charlie was dying in the back seat of an SUV. His enemy was receiving updates. How sinister is that? I want you to comprehend how sinister that is. And let's take a listen to Ben state this so you can fully appreciate how deeply evil it feels. Take a listen.
I remember where I was when all this was happening. I was in Los Angeles. I had sort of a breakfast/lunch meeting with somebody. And I got the news that Charlie had been shot, and my security was on the phone with Charlie's security because nobody knew what the hell was going on, while Charlie was still in the back of the car, and we were sort of getting updates along the way. There's visual timelines that show Charlie's body being carried to a vehicle within minutes of being shot. Apparently, he was still alive at the time. Again, I know that only because my security was talking to his security in the car.
I hate that. I hate that. I hope Charlie couldn't hear. Everything about his demeanor there does not pass the vibe check for me. Everything about his aggressive position and demeanor since Charlie's passing has signaled to me that something is very awry. So what did we do? We put out a bounty. I said, who was Benny Boy with at breakfast or lunch? He doesn't remember breakfast or lunch. And we instantly heard back, and we took our time to verify the person that we were speaking with, that person was authentic, that we did everything possible to fact check the information. Regardless, I will still say allegedly, because of course there was always room for misunderstanding. But the person that Ben was with has allegedly told various other people that he was with Ben when Charlie Kirk was shot. Now, We were not able to confirm that they were at breakfast or lunch. Only what came to us was that they were together. And that person is a man named Gary Javich. Ben was allegedly with Gary Javich and an as of yet unidentified woman when Charlie Kirk was shot. Now, we have a strong guess as to who that woman could be, but we'd rather not venture a guess unnecessarily. So Gary Javich is not a person that you have likely ever heard of unless you are Jewish and involved in the community, but he is certainly very well known, actually very powerful. And we weighed this identification as likely, determined it was probably likely given the reason that Ben was in Los Angeles on that September day. For clarity, Ben was in Los Angeles because he was scheduled to appear later that evening at the Ronald Reagan Presidential Library in Simi Valley at 6 o'clock p.m. That event was eventually canceled because Charlie was shot. What we can confirm about Gary Javich is that he has spent the last few decades of his life, he's older, in his 70s, mid-70s, in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places, right? He got one of his degrees in Omaha, Nebraska, back in the 90s and has been there ever since. Now, Omaha, Nebraska just keeps coming up. It really does, right? Whether we're talking about the Egyptian plains, whether we're talking about other topics throughout this case, when we were initially looking into Turning Point reopening their UNL chapter, we've talked a lot in general about Nebraska, surprisingly so. But most critically, what is something that you should know about Gary Javich is that he is and has been the executive director of B'nai B'rith International for years. B'nai B'rith is the Jewish Freemasonic Lodge. And that immediately piqued my interest, especially if you're in my book club, you know the stuff that we have learned about B'nai B'rith throughout our study of Sigmund Freud. This is what just sort of ripped me into a new reality. Sigmund Freud and the Jewish mystical tradition. Yes, B'nai B'rith was indeed founded by German Jews. It was a Freemason lodge where Sigmund Freud, as we learned in one of our books, was free to denigrate the Goyim in his correspondence with his fellow Jews. He would say things like, that joke is much too good for Goyim. But they tell us that that's just meant to mean nation or something. B'nai B'rith then spun into the Anti-Defamation League. It's an important note that you should know about that. And that happened when the extraordinarily wealthy Jewish man in Atlanta named Leo Frank, who owned a factory and was president of the Atlanta B'nai B'rith chapter, assaulted and murdered an impoverished 13-year-old Catholic girl named Mary Fagan. He was convicted of this crime, despite trying to blame it on a poor, illiterate Black janitor who also worked for him at the factory. Do you know how guilty you would have to be to get a jury to not convict a Black man in the South, in the segregated South in 1913? Yet to this day, every year the ADL lobbies, claims it was anti-Semitism that he got convicted, where there was none. He was an unbelievably powerful player, and he was also convicted by a jury that consisted of Jews. And they have been attempting to get that conviction overturned for decades. Now, I highly recommend you read this little packet and conduct your own research, The Ugly Truth About the ADL. It's very important you understand what they have been involved in this country since their founding. Read it, as I did, and then research the claims that are made in this, as I did, and think for yourself. But we are coming to a point in this country that it is very important that you understand what that group is, where they come from, and in my view, the danger that the ADL represents. Anyway, back to Gary. He served on the B'nai B'rith International's board as their executive board chair in 2011, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019. He received the inaugural President's Award in 2019 for advancing the organization's mission. A 2022 report identified him as the director of the local B'nai B'rith chapter in Omaha. He is also the director of the Chabad Lubavitch of Nebraska. Again, if you're not in my book club, you should just read the books. I would read David Bacon's Sigmund Freud and the Jewish Mystical Tradition. You will note that anytime the Chabad Lubavitch is mentioned, the underground tunnels in New York, there's this immediate vicious reaction online. There's a reason for that. There was a person currently sitting in jail who tried to murder me, plotted my murder on a chat with 20 other Jews. None of them notified me. The FBI got involved. Stunning that 20 people could be on a chat as a person is saying how he's going to murder Candace Owens, and none of them would reach out. I can't imagine that in Christian world. I can't imagine a chat with 20 Christians plotting the assassination of Ben Shapiro, and nobody would reach out and be like, this person's crazy, and I wanted to inform you that I'm on this chat with a crazy person. But that's what happened. That is real. There's a person sitting in jail because I mentioned the Chabad Lubavitch's history, particularly as it pertains to the Brooklyn tomb that every president seems to visit, including Donald Trump. More about Gary. His professional biography says that he served on the National Council of AIPAC. Gary was the president of the Nebraska chapter of AIPAC. It also lists his twin brother, David Javich, as being on the board of AIPAC currently. Now, we were able to discover that Ben Shapiro and his wife have been donating a life and legacy amount to the Jewish Federation of Omaha, Nebraska for years. I know he has some ties to Omaha. I'm not really clear to what extent or why. Maybe he just likes it. But of course, Gary is involved with that organization as a host and a donor. That is all we know. I do not need to draw any further conclusions because everything about this situation gives me the ick. But I will put out another bounty, similarly, for $25,000 for the person who can tell me who in Charlie's car was speaking to who on Ben's security team. We will protect your identity as we always do. We will obviously work with you to make sure you're comfortable in how I share the information. And I'm good for it. You can trust me. This matters very deeply to me. But I wanted to just really underscore how despicable the Turning Point USA team has been in their lies. There's no bottom to their lies. And if they will lie about something like that for $1 million check, yeah, they betrayed Charlie one way or the other. They are currently actually every day betraying Charlie. It was a betrayal to sit there and to lie about who his friends were and who his enemies are. So if you have any information, I will again state, please send us an email to moretips@CandaceOwens.com. And I look forward to hearing from you guys. We'll be right back after a break. All right, you guys, do you feel like you're working harder than ever, but still falling behind every single month between grocery prices, bills, and credit card debt growing? Can feel impossible to get ahead. Minimum payments aren't designed to get you out of debt. They're designed to keep you stuck, but PDS Debt can help. They can reduce up to half of what you owe on credit cards, personal loans, and medical bills, and it starts with a free 30-second assessment at pdsdebt.com/Candace. Stop juggling multiple payments and get one lower monthly payment. The savings start the day that you complete the 30-second assessment, and if you are carrying any balance on your credit cards, you should know that it's costing you money every single day. There's no minimum credit score required. PDS Debt is the top-rated company in the industry with thousands of 5-star reviews and an A+ rating on the BBB. So get your free 30-second personalized assessment today at pdsdebt.com/Candace. Again, that's pdsdebt.com/Candace. I also remind you guys about Kikoff because time flies faster than we expect. But when it comes to your goals like building credit, it's never too late to start making real progress. Kikoff is the #1 credit building app in the App Store with plans starting at just $5 a month. There's no credit check, no hidden fees, and absolutely no interest. In fact, users starting with credit under 600 see an average increase of 86 points just by making on-time payments. And here's how it works. You make your payments, Kikoff reports that positive activity to the credit bureaus, and your credit can grow fast. They even offer rent reporting, so the payments you're already making can help build your credit as well. You can sign up in minutes right from your phone, and with AutoPay, you'll never miss a payment. Join over 1 million users that are building better credit the smart way. Start building credit with Kikoff today and get your first month for as little as $1. That's 80% off the normal price when you head to getkickoff.com/Candace today. That's Kikoff without the C, getkickoff.com/Candace.
Must sign up via kickoff.com/Candace to activate offer. Offer applies to new Kickoff customers first month only, subject to approval. Offer subject to change. Average first-year credit score impact of plus 86 points between August 2024 and August 2025 for Kickoff credit account users who started with a score below 600, who paid on time, and who had no delinquencies or collections added to their credit profile during the period. Late payments may negatively impact your credit score. Individual results may vary.
I also remind you guys about PureTalk because you do not have to overpay for your wireless network, not when PureTalk comes in with the same service for a tiny fraction of the cost. And now for the first time ever, Pure Talk is offering any plan at just $15 a month for your first 3 months. There's never been a better time to take Pure Talk for a test drive. It's fast, it's reliable, and you're going to love it. You can now get any Pure Talk plan, including their unlimited data plans and even their top-tier $65 plan for just $15 a month for your first 3 months. That's a savings of up to $150. I recommend making the switch today because this offer is extremely short-lived. Switch to Pure Talk and enjoy your first 3 months of talk, text, and data for just $15 a month. Head to puretalk.com/Owens to make the switch to Pure Talk. Again, that's puretalk.com/Owens to start saving today. So there is this psychological attack method known as DARVO, right? You deny, you attack, you reverse the victim and the offender. Totally crazy town. We saw this yesterday when Andrew Colvett, who, as Baron Coleman accurately states, is a liar who lies about everything, blamed me for the hit piece against me when it went wrong. Now, here's the thing that's now happening, which I am just beside myself with happiness that this is starting to occur, is that people who weren't sure about Turning Point USA, people who were, had the icky, I think we all did initially, like, okay, like this is kind of Charlie's legacy, and maybe people who initially disliked me, they're starting to change now because they're shocked at the audacity of the lies. And so Andrew took a very big risk in telling this lie. And for clarity, the article is still up because he's lying. They cannot get a retraction from the Daily Mail because he's lying through his teeth. These quotes did not materialize from Candace Owens. They did not materialize from nowhere. No associate editor would put their livelihood on the line and risk being sued, the entire publication being sued, to make up quotes whole cloth from a woman who has not just victim status amongst the elites, but has the DOJ and the president's office backing her up. Like, that's not something they're going to do, right? Lose their job, livelihood, so I could make up a quote about Erica. But he's stupid, and he took that risk anyway. And what it did was it actually made them lose a lot of favor with people that work in and around media. And obviously, those people all talk. They all communicate, they follow stories, and they're like, what is going on? This, that. Anyway, so we received, without even asking, I didn't even say, hey, if you have any information about this, we received a flurry of emails of people who presented proof, concrete proof, that the story did indeed come from a family friend of Erica. And that family friend is exactly who I expected it was, Tracey Martin, because Tracey Martin also lies. Tracey Martin's been doing the rounds in the press. She was giving quotes to Us Magazine, and she's also the person who had a perfectly friendly phone call with me and pretended that I was shouting and cursing her out on the phone. That tells me she's a liar. She's a liar. And what she immediately did when I said I suspected it was her was that she tried to get ahead of it and go on to Paramount Tactical Show. And now, this is before I had received emails to the effect that it was Tracey Martin. And like I said, I'll say allegedly, but I feel very good about the source. And you can just hear the manner in which Tracey Martin tries to get in front of this and lies with her usual, Erica never has done anything wrong ever in her whole life, even though Tracey was friends with Erica back in the days when she was dating, basketball players. Erica, you can find videos of her rapping to gangster music when she was partying. Tracey Martin is going to pretend none of that ever happened, and Erica just doesn't talk like that. Watch her lie. Take a listen.
Tracey, let us know what your thoughts are on this. And by the way, were you the person that Daily Mail contacted and you provided this information?
Absolutely not. No, absolutely not.
You've read both those articles because you sent them to me.
Yes.
You read the original article, and you've now read the edited article that they act like the first article didn't exist and kept the same date and everything else. Like, tell me what your thoughts are behind this. And let's talk a little bit about the credibility of what they're saying about Erica. Have you ever seen Erica go on a tirade, start crashing out?
Never. That's not her MO. I have a lot of thoughts about this, to be honest with you, Gary. First and foremost, that's not Erica. People who know Erica, and if you notice, people actually came on against this podcast who just recently met me and said there's no way that she would have done this. And that's how you know you have a consistency of character. Erica would never, she doesn't curse. She doesn't say those things. And she's still to this day has never said anything bad about Candace or anyone involved in this at all.
That's literally not true. She came out dressed like an assassin and name-checked me and accused me of accusing her of killing her husband, which was meant to invite hate toward me. I mean, the entire reason her PR thing fell apart was because Erica has been signaling for people to attack me. Stop, just stop. Name-checking me in questions that were pre-approved by Barry Weiss, which she knew was going to happen. So it's so obvious that she's lying. And she comes out and she says that. And like I said, she has a history of lying, this Tracey. I had a perfectly nice conversation. I wish I had recorded it because it was so nice. And the next thing I know, she was out there pretending like I was cussing her out on the phone. Nope, just told her how I felt about Erica and things that I thought were strange and asked her opinion about why she didn't find it strange that Erica was being caught in so many lies that she knew about. That's it. And so there's your answer. I'm still challenging Andrew Kova to get that article removed. Get the person to come out and apologize. They should have there should be a full retraction issued if what you are saying is true and they are attributing quotes that are not real to Erica's family friend. It was as I understand it, an attempt to show the public that she was strong and that she was not going to take it and for her to come out swinging, and it backfired. And then they moved to Darvo tactics. That's what she's doing. It's a Darvo tactic to then pretend that I was the person who attacked myself. We have Turning Point in a very good spot. Okay. We want them to go mask down and to reveal their character and to keep telling such implausible lies like this because it's turning more people against them. It is. It's making people realize what they are capable of, because that was just like, I was like, are you kidding? When I woke up, I'm like, they're saying I was behind the article calling myself the B word, calling myself a soulless ghoul. Yeah, that's not going to earn you any friends in media. It's just not. Moving on from that, I did also want to show you guys this clip talking about how the truth is spreading, and I can guarantee you next week is going to be an explosive week. But Rob O'Neill, we didn't show the full clip of him on Newsmax, and I also wanted to get him talking about what was going on in the rooftop and this screwdriver that is just bothering me the more and more I think about it. Take a listen.
Well, I'm just saying, I mean, the screwdriver that probably wouldn't have worked to take it apart or put it together in the first place was left on the rooftop anyway. So he jumped off the roof and put it back together without the screwdriver that probably didn't work anyway, put it back together, wrapped it up, and put it nicely in a bunch of trees, and then ran off and started texting someone like English was a second language. I mean, the whole thing's just shady. 30-06 is 30 caliber, invented in 06. It's a 1906 to kill big game. And if you hit something in the spine, especially a human, I've shot ballistic gelatin all the time. I've never shot a human with 30-06, but I know it would do a lot more than that. If it was just a 30-06 shooting too, that went left to right, not from front to back. You can clearly see an exit wound on Charlie Kirk's left-hand side. And then it just is why are we supposed to believe everything we see on TV? Shut up, believe it. That's the narrative. No, it's not. I'm SEAL Team 6 sniper. I went to sniper school in 1998. I'm telling you.
Just fantastic. I love what he says, texting like it's English is a second language, because that's exactly what it was. Too formal. When you learn a language, you always learn it super formal. It's not the way people speak amongst each other. And it looked like someone just hit Google Translate and it came out like they were speaking the Queen's English, which obviously registered to the public as strange. And so it is good that we are finally reaching critical mass. I think we actually always were at critical mass, but that more people are feeling emboldened to speak out. And, you know, I do have to say, I just feel like Charlie's with us. I do. I feel like he's fighting with us. And that's why this is not going away. And he's working just as hard as he always did. Now, I have to read you this comment that shook me to my core yesterday on YouTube. I'm not getting involved beyond this. I'm just saying that it caught me off guard because I had sort of peripherally understood that there was some drama going on with this suicide of Ellen DeGeneres, the longtime talk show host, no longer on air. She had a DJ named Twitch that worked on her show, and he committed suicide, allegedly, in a hotel room. And somebody commented this on YouTube, wrote, so many similarities with Twitch's case. Mormon wife who chased him at dancing events until he marries her. The family iced out. Mysterious death. His family asked to sign an NDA to attend the memorial. The wife back at work and in business mode a few days later, making deals and publishing books. And note they put here that I find out that Allison grew up in Orem, Utah, and graduated from Timpanogos High School in 2006. I was like, what? Is this, I'm reading the comments and I'm going, is this real? Did she grow up in Orem, Utah? And sure enough, she did. Just a quick background on the case, just keeping it factual. Twitch died in 2002 at a motel less than a mile from his house from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. He checked in to the Oak Tree Inn, and his body was discovered by motel staff on Tuesday. He checked in on a Monday. The body was discovered on Tuesday when they entered his room. He was just 40 years old, and he was pronounced dead at the scene just after 11 a.m. And an autopsy report confirmed, this is what's crucial, that there were no drugs or alcohol that was found in his system at the time of death. TMZ then went around and spoke to motel staffers who said that he didn't appear to be in any sort of distress. He wasn't visibly upset, nothing. And the staffers also said that no one even heard the gunfire at any point during his stay, which is plausible. It's possible, of course, given the motel's layout. It does have separate units and it's structured like a U. But according to law enforcement and multiple news reports, he left a note alluding to past challenges and led investigators to conclude that the death must have been a suicide. Now, what made people, and I remember seeing this build online of people who didn't like the widow, was that despite him having no drugs in his system, she then gives an interview and says that she found a cornucopia of substances like mushrooms and pills that she wasn't aware that he was taking. She said this after he committed suicide, that she found it hidden in his shoe boxes. Anyway, I'll let you take a listen to that piece of the interview that really sent some people.
I had dealt with an ex that had addiction problems, and then I realized Steven had addiction problems, and it's something that I kind of have been like, where was I involved in this? And I had to take some steps for myself to realize, like, you know, I was able to help one, and I wish I could have been that for the other. But it's also not my job to do that. There was a moment I was with one of my really dear friends, and we were cleaning out the closet and picking out an outfit for him for the funeral. And it was a really triggering moment for me because there was a lot of things I discovered in our closet that I did not know existed. And it was very alarming to me to learn that there was so much happening that I had no clue. So it was a really scary moment in my life to figure that out. But it also helped me process that he was going through so much. And he was hiding so much, and there must have been a lot of shame in that. And he was wrestling with a lot inside himself, and he was trying to self-medicate and cope with all those feelings because he didn't want to put it on anyone. Because he loved everyone so much. He didn't want other people to take on his pain. But it was very alarming and scary to find those things and have never known.
Painting your husband as a drug addict who was found with no drugs in his system and who nobody knew had any drug habit, and just saying you were the one who found it. It's a move. It's a move. I think I said he died in 2002. I meant to say 2022. This is all very recent. And he also died without a will. She filed a petition for half of his estate. In April, a judge signed off on her request. She was granted her property passing rights as a result of the ruling. And according to California law, the surviving spouse has the right to request half of her late partner's assets if they were married at the time of their death. Twitch's mother and younger brother, however, did speak out, and they sat down with Gayle King on CBS. So this is why it was turned into a massive thing, because the family was like, she's not acting right. And I'll just, let me just say that it is true that at Charlie's actual Catholic mass burial, which was the day before the memorial event, that Erica made her own family members and everyone present sign NDAs. That's what I was told. And similarly, the same thing was done here. And this is what Twitch's family told Gayle King on CBS. Take a listen.
We were, trying to figure out what we were going to do or what she wanted to do in terms of plans. And then I got a phone call saying, we need you guys to sign non-disclosure agreements. And we were like, why? What's going on? What is this for? And she says, well, somebody in the family has sold a story to a magazine. And we were like, what are you talking about? Who did this? And she said, Granddad. And that's Stephen's grandfather. And now, if you know my dad, he is the most respected, the most integrity. Would never do that. So a magazine did call him, and in the throes of grief, my father answered the phone, and they asked him
questions.
Right, and he's answering. Right, he's answering the questions, and saying we're grieving, we don't know what happened, whatever the answers were. But it was at that point that it became, you guys are doing this. We need you to sign this, and we were like, no, that is not true. And that's kind of where it started. It went,
so that's when the friction started, asking for the NDA.
It went downhill from there.
You were asked to sign an NDA to go to the funeral?
It became, if you don't sign, you will not be able to see him and you will not be able to participate.
I can tell you that she did do a book tour. She did release a book. February of 2024, a short time after. It was her story of love loss and embracing the light. And once again, she told the public that he was secretly struggling with addiction and past sexual abuse from a male figure in his life. That is one thing to put on the streets after your husband dies in a suicide. Now, members of Twitch's family said that they were blindsided by the claims that she made. And she also released a children's book that she said that she co-authored with Twitch just before he died. And that was called Keep Dancing Through, Boss Family Groove. I mean, 2025 in September, Connie, who is Twitch's mother, filed a petition for grandparent visitation against Allison, alleging that her relationship with her grandchildren has changed following her son's death, describing it as unilateral and retaliatory decision by the dancer. In 2026, the case was dismissed by a judge. So I guess they will just not be able to see too much of their grandparents. We'll see. But I just had to tell you this stunning story. When I found just in Warren, Utah, I was just like, this is crazy. And I do see a lot of the similarities in the story. I'm not speculating anything, but I am saying that's a move. This is book publishing. It's like a formula or something. It's crazy. I will just leave it at that. We'll be right back after a break. All right, you guys, I want to tell you about Ethos because, as many of you know, I've recently shared the exciting news that our family is growing again. We're expecting another baby. As exciting as this season is, it's also a reminder that every new chapter brings new responsibilities. The more people who depend on you, the more important it becomes to plan for their future. That's one of the reasons that life insurance has been a priority for me. It's a simple but meaningful way to help protect the people that you love and provide financial security if the unexpected ever happens. Getting covered today is simpler, faster, and more affordable than many people realize. That's why I love Ethos, because with Ethos, you can apply online in just minutes. No medical exams, no waiting rooms, just answer a few health questions and you could be covered the very same day. And what really stands out to me is that Ethos helps match you with the coverage that actually fits your life, your goals, and your budget. With up to $3 million in coverage and plans starting around $30 a month, protecting your family can feel a whole lot more doable. Peace of mind should not be complicated, so take 10 minutes to get covered today with life insurance through Ethos. Get your free quote at ethos.com/Candace. That's ethos.com/Candace. Application times may vary and rates may vary as well. And of course, I want to remind you guys about American Financing because high prices are here to stay. And if you're a homeowner, you've probably thought, should I call American Financing to refinance and pay off this credit card debt? Then you maybe second-guess yourself because of the low mortgage rate that you're currently enjoying. That low rate is not saving you anything if you're drowning in credit card interest at 25% or more. That's math that no one wants to face, but it's costing you thousands. And here's the truth. If you're only making minimum payments, that debt is going to follow you for years. That's why people are calling American Financing, because they are saving customers an average of $800 a month by using their equity to finally break free from credit card debt. You owe it to your family to see what's possible. There are no upfront fees, no pressure. It costs you nothing to find out what you could be saving every month. And if you start today, you may be able to delay 2 mortgage payments. So call American Financing at 800-795-1210. Again, that's 800-795-1210, or visit americanfinancing.net/Owens. Again, that's americanfinancing.net/Owens. All right, you guys, top comment from yesterday's episode came from the Fitch family. They wrote, the comical part is everyone says Candace doesn't have one shred of evidence, yet she has the most evidence so far presented by anyone including the FBI. It is crazy how much we have released that the public did not have access to, from photos inside of the SUV to releasing text messages, us being the one that showed that he said he was leaving the pro-Israel cause. And no matter what, they just say she has no evidence. And then we finally get brought to the preliminary hearing where we're supposed to be overwhelmed by evidence, and they give us nothing. Nothing, not one thing that I was forced to retract on the basis of what we saw in the preliminary hearing. In fact, it led to even more questions. And we have a lot more coming. We have a lot more coming. I can promise you guys that. One Glazed Donut wrote, Candace, your audience does not have to be bought. We actually choose to watch you every day. No one forces us to. They are the grifters. Yes, I totally agree that they are the grifters. And it's just crazy to me that they tried to present it like I tried to profit off of Charlie's death. It's exactly what they were doing. Again, going back to that Darvo psychological attack, exactly what they were doing. They tried to accuse me of doing. They're like, let's say Candace is benefiting off of Charlie's death. Yeah, who cares if no one will remember the tent, the microphone that was in the case, us literally raising $40 million, approximately $40 million in one night as Erica posed next to the bloody, no one will remember anything. We'll just say, forget the t-shirts that went into a for-profit business, the influencers. They will just say that's Candace that's making money for doing what she's always done. Her podcast. I've been podcasting for years. This is what I do. Nothing has changed. My focus obviously has changed because I watched my friend get assassinated, and I'm watching the people who are the closest to him lie about even the most mundane facts of his existence. Who his friends are, who his enemies were, what he was fighting, what pressure he was under. And the deep irony here is that they had just been forthcoming. No one would have thought anything was weird. Like if they were just like, yeah, he was really angry in the end about the pressure he was under of the donors, and he was really venting. He was done with the pro-Israel cause. If Bibi had just stayed home and chilled, if Seth Dillon admitted that he had pressured him in the Hamptons, as he does, I have been morally blackmailed by Seth Dillon, and Charlie and me spoke about that. I have messages to that effect. Then people I would have thought nothing was suspicious or needed further prodding, but they can't tell the truth about anything. They can't even tell the truth about articles that they are planting. I'll leave a small percentage for maybe if Tracey Martin was the one who, as I'm told, was behind this article, maybe there's a chance that Andrew Colvett didn't get the email question somewhere. They do sometimes send them to weird inboxes. I've told you that. They'll send it to like my info box asking for comment. But there's no way he couldn't just pick up the phone and call Erica and say, hey, did Tracey giving these comments to the Daily Mail? And Erica should have said yes, because she was. And Erica knew that. Unless Tracey did it behind Erica's back. I don't think she did. Allegedly. I don't think she did. Anyway, more comments on today's episode. Ooh, my computer has frozen, so just kidding. That's so weird. Hold on, let me just hit refresh here. Oh, wait, no, I'm just actually in the wrong spot entirely. It's actually not frozen. Coleman writes, Candace, watch Once Upon a Time in America. It is a movie about the Jewish mafia. Thank you for letting me know about that. I've never heard about that, but I have definitely been doing a lot of reading, and it is real, and it is terrifying how much we have been lied to about that. Sarah Marie writes, I do believe the Holy Spirit worked through Charlie, and that same Spirit is working through Candace. May our dear Father, which holy name is Jehovah, secure Mrs. Owens and all of her endeavors in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen. I like I said, I feel good right now. I feel positive about what I always sense, which is that all of these lies are going to be revealed regarding Charlie's death. And I sense that we are making progress in the panic and the effort and the extremities, the lies that they are telling. I mean, it's just such extremes right now that you're going, is this real? Are you bringing influencers into the courtroom? That's not a good PR move. Obviously, why are you doing that? There's a desperation that I'm sensing right now. And I just want to also keep encouraging you guys to keep fighting, keep sending me information, keep sending me tips. And I'm grateful to everyone who has thus far. I can sense that camaraderie. All of us are in the foxhole with Charlie now. Dan writes, Candace, thank you for everything that you do. You've been a pivotal voice for a lot of people, and I know that comes with an incredible amount of pressure. I want to remind you that your work is appreciated and that many people are grateful for your courage. Stay strong. We are rooting for you. Thank you so much, Dan, for that gift. And I'm rooting for all of us to win. I just feel the devil always overplays his hand, and the devil definitely overplayed his hand with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. There's that. Renee writes, for your lawsuit fund. Yeah, it does feel like it's coming. I definitely will say, once I started realizing that all of the accounts, the stuff that Charlie and I were talking about, the typical people are starting to talk about Sandy Hook, I was like, oh, they're going to go for this. They want me hung, you know, they want me hung. So thank you for that, for your lawsuit fund. Thank you for showing up for Charlie. You have built an amazing community. Much love and support from everyone around the world, praying with and for you. Christ is King. Yeah, I mean, if this is this is my hill to die on, so to speak, not allowing the murder of my friend to happen in broad daylight and go unchecked, and then the lies to be told and to watch everything he built for be destroyed and reversed overnight. That feels like something worth fighting for. That feels like there's such a sin right now that I think we're all carrying, like the whole world is carrying the sin of Charlie's assassination, the memory of watching that video and what was done. And it has to be cleansed. It has to be cleansed and the only thing that can cleanse it is truth. Everyone needs to know exactly what happened that day and who was behind it. It's the only way it works. And there are so many of us right now. And we're not quitting, and we are just so focused on this topic. And I think that they didn't expect that. Of course they didn't expect that. No way. Real Seth Rando writes, Candace, I love what you are doing. Keep fighting. We all have a part to play in exposing corruption. Indeed, we do. Carbon writes 3 things. When I first started watching you years ago, I thought Ben was your husband. So sorry. Yeah, I'm going to accept that apology, but I'm really not happy with you. I'm just going to take 5 seconds here to be really angry at you. Catholic, so I'm going to forgive you. I'm a little angry. 2, I joined the Daily Wire because of you, and I left when you left. And 3, I have new grand 3-month-old named Charlie. Keep fighting. Oh, congratulations. Still really angry at you, but not at little Charlie. So sweet. Congratulations. Brooke writes, I'm so grateful for my weekdays with your platform. Thank you for refusing to let Charlie be forgotten and for staying committed to uncovering the truth. We appreciate you more than you know. Christ is King, and Ben Shapiro is still fake and gay. And also dangerous, I would add there. Like people that fixate like that, it's like there's like a disorder or something. He can't just go away, just go away. You have more money, connections, just go live a nice life and let people think what they want to think. Too much anger. And I think that comes up with how they are raised. I do think he genuinely believes that he's chosen. And maybe he is, but it's certainly not by God. Right? I don't think that people who are chosen by God to behave like that. And yeah, I think that sort of brainwashing, going through the same kind of psychology, which is the point of them being raised to think you're so special, everything is yours. They don't even know, they're not even aware of their own brainwashing. They are not aware that hell is real. It's really real. I wouldn't want to live like that. And know that I could face that eternal sentencing. And they do it unflinchingly. Jennifer writes, I completely support you, Candace. Go Max, Christ is King. Ali writes, I love your pods with Tom Woods and Scott Horton. They made a history curriculum designed for homeschooling. We also need a pod with Larry Johnson. You would love Larry. He's a funny grandpa who's ex-CIA and doesn't trust the Fed slop CK narrative. I will be sure to check him out. Auntie Leash writes, yesterday's episode, my takeaway was Howard Hughes was manipulated into isolation, tortured till he handed over his fortune, murdered, and then painted as a madman to the public. It sounds familiar. Where have we seen this pattern before? Everywhere, actually, especially in Hollywood. I just go back and how much I used to believe it. And maybe that was all of us having sort of this parasite in believing the tabloids and believing what they said about people. This person's crazy. Because they're trying to get you. That's how the parasite works. They're trying to drive you crazy. And that's why it's so important to have strong, stable, fortified people in your life. That's what Charlie was to me. And when I was going through that, I was 40 weeks pregnant when they were doing it to me. And, no, Candace, you're crazy. You can't say genocide's always wrong. There's something wrong with you. Oh my God, I love you. Why would you say this? I hate to see you go this way. What's wrong with you? And then you're going, am I seeing correctly? Was genocide always wrong? And you have to have people like Charlie. And that's why I wanted to show that message of just, this is what they're doing. This is happening. You're going to fight through this. Do not quit. That's what they're trying to get you to do. Like, he was that person to me. And I was also that person to him. We had each other's backs, and we still do have each other's backs. You know, Charlie died, I'm riding. It was always a ride or die situation. And he's still with us. I want you guys to know that. He really is. We have merch available on our website. Oh, I forgot one comment. Better Love wrote, there's an obvious war against truth and knowledge. You can't speak the truth, nor can you know about any history that does not fit a narrative. Never stop fighting this evil. We will always stand with you. There will be justice for Charlie. Totally agree. There will be justice for Charlie. As you guys know, the easiest way to support us is merch. You can go on the website, buy yourself a mug, buy yourself a Santa's cup, buy yourself a t-shirt, buy yourself a battle bun. I think that's a magnet. Nope, it's a logo sticker. And yeah, easiest way, obviously. And we will always keep that up. Of course, the CIA hats, the central. We've been amazing, by the way. This is the first time there's ever been an open investigation that has produced so much. And like I said, there is more to come. There is more to come, more around the corner, and it is because of everyone around the world doing the right thing. And the more that Turning Point does the wrong thing, the more people realize, okay, I don't know what's going on, but I know that they are not good people. So don't be discouraged when you see that sort of stuff. When you see Andrew lying in the way that he is, be encouraged, because it's awakening more people to diabolical nature of some people. Pray for Andrew Kovach. Genuinely, like I said, I don't hate these people. I hate what they've done, sure, but I don't hate them. I don't have that in me. I don't want to join them in that. I would still, like I always say, I would still sit down with them, because from the beginning of this, all I've ever wanted are clear answers, and we just can't seem to get them. Anyway, you guys, also on the website, we do have that documentary I told you about, the Vulnerable People Project, which talks about that last community, the last Catholic human rights organization that just got back from the West Bank, where they filmed the last Christians, 2,000-year-old community that is facing settler violence. So it's in the same vein as this, the IDF intimidation, the threat of erasure. The documentary is up. If you head to Club Candace, you can go watch that. Faith Under Occupation. We'll see you guys not tomorrow. We'll see you on Monday.